Assembly Member Kurten.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Now, in Assembly Member Duval's question, he spoke about Brexit, and he used the phrase crashing out, and I think you answered with the phrase no deal. But both of these phrases are not correct terminology, because we're not going to be crashing out on the 29th of March. We're going to be walking into freedom and taking back control of our borders and laws and our money and our sovereignty. And we're not going into no deal because we'll be going on to World Trade Organization terms. And I'm sure you understand, Mr. Mayor, that on WTO terms, under Article 24 of the General Agreement on Trade Tariffs, we can continue trading tariff-free in goods with the European Union after that date. And all the leading experts in Brexit have said that is the case. Now, you've allocated £186,000, I believe, into Brexit preparations. Now, shouldn't you be using that money to raise awareness of Article 24 and how it allows us to continue trading tariff-free with the European Union?
Well, firstly, I don't agree that should the UK leave the EU without any deal whatsoever with the EU, we will be able to trade tariff-free with the EU. It's just not the case. All the evidence I have is in relation to goods. There'll be tariffs applied on the goods, and some of the goods, by the way, WTO terms are 10%, which makes our goods that we're exporting less attractive to purchase in the EU. But also, when you talk about goods being imported, it's a two-way process, they become more expensive for the consumer to buy. In relation to the non-tariff barriers on services, I'd remind you that the UK exports in surplus when it comes to services, really important to our economy. And so if there were non-tariff barriers on services in relation to regulatory barriers, that would have an impact on the service industry in our city. In relation to the monies that the government's given us for planning for the contingencies, that's important to get prepared for the possibility of there being no deal. For example, what happened at the ports in our city, King's Cross, St Pancras, City Airport, Heathrow Airport, the docks, we've got to be prepared for that. What happened in relation to if there are problems with short shelf dates for essential medicine supplies, to have facilities to store those. I appreciate that you think that everything's going to be hunky-dory, but there's a possibility it won't be. And I'd be criticised as the mayor of this city if I didn't plan for the possibility of things being slightly more chaotic than you dream about.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I noticed in your answer you didn't make any reference to Article 24 of the General Agreement on Trade Tariffs, which is what would allow us to continue trading tariff-free with the European Union. But I'm short of time, so I do have some other questions to ask you about your budget, which are also important. Now, if we can change the subject to TfL, and on page 54, of your budget, you've said that you're going to find savings of 204.2 million in the budget of TfL. That seems like quite a lot of money. How are you going to achieve those savings?
Well, that's what I was told before I became mayor. It was impossible to find savings in TfL. And in the 16 years before I became mayor, in TfL's existence, each year TfL's spend increased. What we managed to do in year one of me being the mayor is reduce operating costs in TfL, and in year two, and we hope in year three. Let me give you some examples how we can reduce savings and make savings in TfL. By merging engineering functions, we've managed to make savings in TfL, really important. To reduce the number of offices we have, we can make huge savings. By having smart use of the office space, we can make savings. By having a situation where there's less duplication, we make savings. By reducing the amount of non-permanent labour, we can make savings. By having a freeze on those staff who earn above £100,000 in their salary, we can make savings. By reducing the numbers of senior management in TfL, we can make savings. By saying to the top team in TfL who earn above 100 grand, you're not going to get a pay rise, we can make savings.
Okay, that's a comprehensive answer, Mr. Mayor. But there's one part of your budget where it seems to be spending more, and in your own budget for City Hall, there's an item for supplies and services. Now that's increased from 126.9 million to 217.6 million. That's a huge increase. Why is there such a huge increase in supplies and services for City Hall?
Yeah, I'm afraid he's not going to be able to answer that question because you've run out of time. We are heartbroken.
Well,
We now,
lucky for the Mayor.
we now move to question